Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Bullshit in Video Games with Brian and Arman. I think this is 22, I believe. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Arman, you had something you wanted to say to me. What was it?
So, it was it's about our last podcast and something that you frown upon. I think so. It's pretty much I would have enjoyed the game, or I might enjoy Classic more if the drops were guaranteed.
Ooh.
Yeah, because like we said, there might be a content drought, and if the game is gonna play like it is right now, I understand that then it's a definite that gear acquiring gear is the only premise of the game then. But if you add getting the gear instantly and guaranteed, how would that play out?
So, what you're. Let me just clarify. So, like,
Yeah.
in Classic, you would go to a dungeon, and there was only a percentage drop chance that anything would drop. Like,
Yeah,
it was quite possible that you'd kill something and nothing would drop.
exactly.
And if you're in a group, especially a group of more than 5, only 1 or 2 people are going to get gear.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is just going to be tagging along.
Exactly.
So you're asking me how I would feel if it was more like BFA where everyone gets something?
Well, there's still a percentage chance, but what if like raids, like major raids, like you instantly get, you don't have to grind for freaking months and months just to get the Ragnaros' hammer. What if once you participated, you get that gear? Something like Destiny, where you do missions for that designated mission, and then you instantly get a piece of legendary gear just for
Well,
participating.
I've talked to people, I've argued this point in BFA many times in trade chat.
What?
And whether or not guaranteed loot is good or not. I tend to say that no, it's not. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that has a lot to do with who I am, and I'm just going to PvP. And so, like, back in Classic, I used to go and do a Wrathy Basin naked with my Frost Mage just to prove a point. But that's because I'm playing a Frost Mage. If I was playing like a gear dependent class like a warrior, I'd be fucked if I did that.
Yeah.
So as far as guaranteed loot, like just participation trophies, essentially, I think that's just going to degrade the value of that participation loot down to 0. If every asshole who steps into Molten Core gets some type of loot, then every asshole is going to have that loot, which means every asshole is still an asshole because they haven't made any progress over the other assholes.
But it only takes amount of like a certain amount of commitment to just it's just a random chance though.
Yeah, that does. Random chance is a pain in the dick.
And it's like a complete waste of time. And
Hey, you're
unless
bonding with your friends, okay, Arman?
and getting angry, leaving guilds, breaking bridges.
Oh my god, burning so many bridges. So many guilds collapsing over these raids.
Yeah, just for random chances. You see how like people like Asmongold, they're like, oh my god, please give me that mount. And he just
Well, okay, so yeah, it's a little unhealthy for the social dynamic, certainly.
mm-hmm.
And to a degree, it's certainly just a time sink to force people to play for longer.
Yeah.
However, we were talking about content droughts last time. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're a Blizzard, what decision are you supposed to make when, on the one hand, you can say, okay, we could just give people what they want, but sort of take away the point of playing the game, or we can make them grind, which people hate doing. But if they're not grinding, what else are they going to do? They're going to
Well,
go play Destiny, probably.
yeah, Destiny's a great example.
Destiny's
There's like
shit.
it's not. It's
I
pretty
know.
good.
I haven't really played at all. I've played for like 2 hours.
I just recently bought the expansion for Destiny.
Who owns Destiny? It's Activision, right?
Yeah, Activision.
All right, good.
So,
At least it's in the same wheelhouse. You know, what I mean, they're like
mhm,
stealing customers from themselves.
yeah, and the concepts kind of blend. They're trying to figure out, I don't know, maybe create a new game. Or
Crossover,
yeah.
fight Illidan in Destiny.
Oh, he would get destroyed. So you asked me, what would like Blizzard's alternative method to attacking, like, let's say if there was instant and like guaranteed loot. I'd
Yeah.
say they should probably make it like Destiny, where there would be like missions, or like missions, but they're like small little dungeons and scenarios, and they should just add a bunch of scenarios or dungeons.
Yeah, but so you're saying just infinitely add more and more dungeons?
Not infinitely, but it would be a game, at least.
But there are. I mean, there's so many dungeons in Vanilla WoW. I mean, like it when you look through the adventure guide, it has more than any other expansion.
Yeah. Well, no, well,
Maybe
yeah.
that's
I
not
mean,
true. I don't know, but
there's
it has a
like,
lot.
I don't know, 15, 20
Yeah, that's a
dungeons.
lot.
Um,
I mean, we've been
yeah,
doing fucking BFA every single time. It's the same 3 dungeons.
yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah,
BFA can suck my dick.
yeah. I need to play some Destiny with you, because there's like these little scenarios. The missions are like okay, yeah, you kill mobs, yeah, yeah, and then but there's like mini bosses for each mission. Now, if there was like a mini boss for each quest or something, yeah, there
That would
is.
get
There's like this.
anything that you do blanketly like that is gonna get exhausting. It's gonna get boring. It's repetitive.
Yeah, to an extent.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
classic was cool because there was every zone was radically different. The quests in the zones were usually pretty different, aside from just the kill quests. All the dungeons were radically different,
Yeah,
and it was like a perfect storm of there was very little convenience. There was no LFG, and so like if you wanted to go to Dire Mall, you had to travel all the way to the other continent and then go deep into Horde territory and then find the instance. And then there was like 4 or 5 different instances, right, for Dire Mall to do the whole thing. And there was no adventure guide or anything like that, and there was no Wikipedia, there was no YouTube.
yeah.
And so you were feeling around in the dark for so long, and that created positive memories. But we won't have that experience again.
See, that's what I'm gonna hate.
I
I
know.
hate that.
I know. I know.
Just reinforcing your what you said on oh gosh, just losing the nostalgia.
Yeah.
What are
So
they
let me
gonna
ask you
do? I
this:
don't know.
a more like corporate question. So
Hmm.
Blizzard, so the whole market is down right now, but Blizzard's really been shit in the bed. A lot of the AAA companies have. I mean, EA is down like 30 or 40% from their 52-week high, and Bethesda recently released Fallout 76, which sounds like one of the worst games of all time. I mean, it's over the top shocking. Like the fucking players would have a better reception if Todd Howard personally went to your house and kicked you in the balls. It's unbelievable what Blizzard has done to ruin, or sorry, Bethesda. They've gone so far to ruin their reputation, and prior to this, they probably had the best reputation of any video game company, AAA developer, because people love Fallout and they love Elder Scrolls so much. But 76, I think, has destroyed almost all or all of that good faith. And Blizzard had their own little snafu with this. Now, I think people took this farther than it needed to be taken. But at the recent BlizzCon, the most recent one, they always save their best product to last, as most people do when they're given a presentation. But Blizzard unveiled that the new Diablo wouldn't be on PC; it would be exclusively for mobile. And they're partnering with NetEase, which is a Chinese company, and this is just an obvious cash grab. They're trying to sell Diablo to the Chinese consumer base. And so people are really upset about this, saying that Blizzard is losing touch with its population, with its consumers. And that seems to be the case across the board. And so there's a lot of conversation now online that is not really talking so much about whether or not Classic's going to be good, but whether or not Classic's going to be good enough to carry the company, especially because people are caring less and less about Activision's products. Now, even though I say that, the beautiful thing about Activision is their product is always good. Hello?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. Yeah, I'll just edit that together. A little connection cut there.
All right.
So did you hear me talk about Activision?
On my end, you actually cut off twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, what did you hear me say?
You were talking about.
It was a long rant.
Yeah, revealing the last game. And
all right, so just in summary, all these AAA titles are shitting the bed. All these developers. Blizzard recently did buy their Diablo bullshit. I don't know if you heard about that.
Which one? What did they do?
Well, they decided that their next Diablo, the Diablo 4, I suppose, wouldn't be a PC or a console release. It would come out exclusively for mobile.
Oh, that sucks.
And to add to insult, they're partnering with a Chinese company who is famous for making Diablo ripoffs. There's a number of free mobile games out there that are filled with microtransactions, of course, that are they look identical to Diablo. And so Bethesda's partnering with this company NetEase to make Diablo 4, and it's obviously just a cash grab to get into the Chinese audience base, the Chinese consumer base. And so what people are talking about online right now that I've noticed is they're asking the question, is Classic WoW good enough to hold up Blizzard?
They're putting you should never put all your eggs in one basket.
I completely agree. But Blizzard's kind of done that. I mean, if Classic doesn't come out until next summer, that's 6 months away. And that if it comes out then, I would be surprised if it's not a buggy mess. And so if it comes out 6 months from now, I mean, what's BFA going to be like by then? Completely dead?
Yeah.
I don't want to be too negative about BFA. It's not terrible. But I mean, I've definitely had fun in it. The world PvP aspects of it are fantastic, but everything else is garbage.
This was probably the best expansion for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know that a big part of my lack of enjoyment of BFA is that I'm still just not familiar enough with WoW and my character to really be useful in PvP. Like, let's say I had a 120 mage and I was really talented with him still, then I would absolutely love BFA. I would just spend all my time in Dustvar murdering people. I wouldn't do anything else.
And that's a fact, guys. He would do that.
Yeah. And so, like, along that line, I think Blizzard was really successful. I would say the dungeons and the raids and stuff are... Well, I haven't done any raids yet, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, so then the dungeons are pretty uninspiring.
Yeah, this is a little more difficult with a little better gear. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting tired of the game.
It's certainly possible. Yeah.
Yeah. There's really nothing else to do in that game, especially because I don't raid.
So my question really was, do you think that Blizzard Activision, because they're one company now, do you think that they can rely on Classic WoW?
I mean, that's a great thing that they did, that to hold up their like reputation and their integrity as far as releasing content, as far as games. Destiny's gonna hold them up. Uh, Classic will be there for like the nostalgic, for nostalgic purposes, and who knows, they might come out with a new game. There was Black Ops that came out. Like overall, I think they'll be okay. Um, as a company, though, yeah. But if just Blizzard by itself, if they didn't merge with Activision, I think they would have been just completely just wrecked.
Really? Do you think
Yeah,
they would have died?
yeah,
Yeah. I think that's a good point to make. I actually agree. It makes me really sad to agree, but I agree. I think Activision's Call of Duty player base is so, you know, what's the word?
loyal.
Yeah, loyal, frantic, zealotous. That Activision is essentially always going to sell a certain amount of Call of Duties, and all the Call of Duties are always high quality. Yes, they're fucking people in the ass with microtransactions, and yes, they keep trimming content more and more and more, but they keep delivering a high quality product. I mean, is there a higher quality battle royale? I don't think so. The videos I've seen of the Call of Duty battle royale look fucking awesome.
Yeah, but
And everyone knew that that was going to be the case when you hear that Call of Duty is going to make a battle royale. Like, okay, that's going to be, before it's even released, everyone's like, okay, that's going to be the highest quality battle royale
yeah,
out there.
but it's like I don't know if this was part of your question, but it does feel a little empty inside because there's no campaign.
Yeah.
It's like what are they doing exactly?
It's all about money. So this is something I'm actually making a dedicated video about that will be out sometime in the next 18 months because I'm super slow about this stuff. But right now, these publicly traded AAA companies like EA and Activision Blizzard, they are attempting to exist under a growth model, which means that
Yeah, but where was that model
the
prior?
theory of investing in this company is that they will grow later and then you can sell them. It's not an investment. An investment is something that you hold on to. So these gaming companies are propping themselves up as trades. And I think that's a really unhealthy model. And I think this is why the companies are so volatile, is because they cannot guarantee that they're always going to get growth. In fact, it's impossible. There are a limited amount of people that want to play World of Warcraft or Call of Duty or Battlefront or whatever the fuck EA makes.
Well, you're right. Like, I mean, yeah, it's great that they're trying a new business model, but wasn't like the idea of video games always like getting your bang for the buck, getting like all the best of what you could get at that time instead of like a
Absolutely. Instead
over
of
time.
so that the reason I brought that up is because I think that explains why we're seeing such lack of depth in games nowadays, is because it's not about depth anymore. It's about the company is trying to make as much money with as little investment as possible so that they can have the greatest profit margins, so that they can show growth, so that more people invest in the company, and so that the price of the stock goes up and the shareholders are happy. However, I can tell you as both a shareholder and a consumer of these video games that this house of cards is going to come crumbling down unless they go back to making high quality games. That's all it is to it. And so that means that they're going to have to change their business model. They're going to have to shift from high growth companies to more of a stable dividend paying. I don't know if blue chip is the right word, but maybe. I mean, these are huge companies. EA is probably like $100 billion. I think Activision Blizzard is like $80 billion. They're big companies.
Hmm. EA is coming out with a new game called Anthem,
Yeah, it's probably like
and
fucking terrible.
it,
Oh my god,
me,
the
me and
market's
our
getting crushed.
I don't know, but it's a new type of game, and as well, it It's a little unsettling saying it's a new type of game because it's really not. The concepts are not new, but it's like a new game. I don't know which one I should say, you know, because
Mhm.
I'll describe it. So EA is coming out with a game called Anthem. Looks amazing. It's
Looks amazing.
yeah, exactly. There's already things that people are commenting on that they want taken out and stuff like that. But so it's a you go around like this planet and it's like open based. You level, of course. It's like Borderlands, Destiny, and WoW put together practically. It's a MMO like Destiny is in some ways, where you find groups of people that you want to play with, or unless you have friends, stuff like that, and then
Nobody has those.
and you go around and do missions. Now, I'm not doing it justice by telling you how it is. It's more you got to see it for yourself. It's really cool. You have like people go into like these mechs that are not like huge mechs. They're like armor suits. there's like a there's like a artillery guy. There's like
Look, at the
a
end of the day, all that matters is depth. Is it just going to be a Call of Duty with mechs? If so, then it's going to be a failure.
it's not a Call of Duty. It's a open world.
Just like an
It's
RPG MMO?
yeah. It's an
Fuck.
open.
I'm so fucking sick of MMOs. I don't want to play with people, okay? There's a reason I don't have friends in real life.
Well, then maybe freaking Red Dead Redemption is for you. Then just like
I don't like Red Dead Redemption. I'm one of the people that's negative on that. I know that's really unusual. Everyone loves that game. I think it's boring as shit. I played the first
it
one. I
is.
didn't play the second one.
The first one was good, but I
No, it
really
wasn't.
hate. Really?
I was so bored, man. Oh yeah, and I misspoke earlier. Activision Blizzard is a $35 billion market cap, and Electronic Arts is $23 billion. I didn't know that EA was actually smaller. That really surprises me. So those companies are actually way smaller than I thought they were. So they need to, just to wrap up what I was saying earlier, they really need to shift to a long-term strategy rather than short-term, because a long-term will actually support them investing more money in the games, taking longer to produce them, releasing a higher quality product, and it will ensure that their companies actually exist going forward. The way that EA, Blizzard, and Bethesda, even though Bethesda is not publicly traded, the way that they're operating now, these companies aren't going to exist for very much longer. Anyway, sorry. Tell me more about Anthem.
Yeah. So before I go to the anthem, so is this like the nice way the company's telling their investors that, oh, sorry, we're gonna suck for the next couple of years?
Well, maybe even permanently. So, like, because they're growth companies, their investors only want to see growth. And so that's why their companies are their stock prices are down so far, is because when they don't deliver growth, everyone who wants growth sells their stock. And
Mm.
so right now, the only people holding it are the people who are too bitter to sell because they didn't sell at the right time, or people like me who I think, I'm still optimistic. I think that they have a future. I'm much more optimistic on Activision Blizzard because of their involvement with esports, but
Mm-hmm.
their necks are on the chopping block, and they don't seem to acknowledge that they are. They keep releasing content that is shameful for a AAA title. I mean, we can go to Steam right now and we can find 1,000 games that are made by teams of less than 5 people, that are made on micro budgets, that are incredibly deep. They have great quality of gameplay, not just quality of graphics. And these AAA titles are sort of pretending that they're not competing with these people when they absolutely are.
So I'd have to ask you, do you think Blizzard and Activision and maybe EA are they getting lost in their trade?
Yeah, I think they are. I think that the people developing the games are no longer gamers themselves, especially the people calling the shots of how expensive a game can be, how long it can take to be developed. And maybe they have their fingers in too many pies,
Mm-hmm.
I think they've
Look,
really lost touch with the gamers.
I mean, that's probably some tremendous stress that somebody's under, that they're just overlooking the whole industry of video games. They're like, oh, they're trying to do the most logical choices for that company.
Yeah. Well, they have some project manager. Like, if I had to guess, you've seen the movie Grandma's Boy, right?
Yeah, Grandma's Boy. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a perfect example. I think that's really what's happening. I think that they bring in these corporate project manager type people, these people who are maybe they're financial experts, but maybe they don't know that much about video games. So they come in and they see a budget and they see a time frame and they have a general idea of what people can do in a certain amount of time. And their only job at the company, the reason they were hired, is to make sure this product releases at a certain time under a certain budget. And it doesn't matter how many sacrifices have to be made, but they're going to make those goals. And that's why you release something like Fallout 76, which by all accounts sounds like just about the worst game ever released. Anybody who wants to listen to how bad Fallout 76 is, go to the Angry Joe show, listen to what Angry Joe has to say. And there's a handful of other great YouTubers who you'll see in the related section after you watch Angry Joe. Oxhorn will talk about it. Let's see, who else? Yang Ye does very detailed breakdowns of very specific issues, but Fallout 76 is shocking. It's shockingly undercooked. It's an incredibly insulting thing to release a game like that. It's insulting to the consumers, to the gamers. And I think you can only release a game like that if you have corporate overlords dictating when the game gets released and what kind of investment of time and money goes into the game.
So, Emma, let me get this straight. Do you think they're trying to be like a franchise like FIFA is, where it's like well known for one game, or like really their fan base is like, okay, when a FIFA comes out, it's that game.
It's a must buy, right?
Yeah, it's a must buy, instead of what practically what Blizzard and Activision is pretty much known for, just a game that came out of nowhere that won the hearts of the gamers.
Yeah.
Both Call of Duty and World of Warcraft.
Well, FIFA's owned by EA, and I think that's the only thing propping up EA for the longest time. FIFA and NBA 2K, blah blah blah, and whatever the fuck the name of the football game is.
NFL.
Yeah, NFL bullshit game.
Madden.
Yeah, Madden. Yeah. So there's a huge cohort of gamers who, I'm not going to say their only interest, but their primary interest are those sports games. And EA has the licenses for all of those actual teams and all the actual names. So there's lots of generic FIFA games, but FIFA is the only game where you can actually play as the characters. You can actually use the names of the teams and such.
Yeah.
Not to mention it's being made with EA quality of visuals. And it's a very copy-paste game. Like, there's not tremendous innovation in mechanics from one FIFA to the next. Even though I'm not an expert on FIFA, I don't know. But there's been like a zillion FIFAs, so it's hard to believe that there's a serious difference in how they work. But for the longest time, those games have been carrying EA, because EA can always rely on that player base to buy those games, because that player base are really only interested in those games. Whereas it's so much harder to please, like, for example, Star Wars fans when they want to buy the new Battlefront game. Now, the new Battlefront game was terrible in so many ways that it's unforgivable for EA to release such garbage and expect it to be popular. But objectively speaking, the non-sports games, it's harder to please those people, because people like me, for example, when I'm playing an Elder Scrolls game, I have an incredibly high bar that was set by Blizzard. I've played this shit. I've played thousands of hours of Oblivion. I've played hundreds of hours of Skyrim. I'm going to someday play Morrowind, but I know enough about it to appreciate it. And so, of course, I have a really high bar. And Elder Scrolls 6 was teased at Bethesda's E3 thing last year. So it'll probably come out in like 2019 or 2020. And if that is not, if that's not an overwhelmingly high quality game, then what is the purpose of Bethesda even existing anymore? I mean, they've proved just recently that they can no longer make Fallout games. The only good Fallout game yet is the one made by Obsidian and not made by Bethesda, New Vegas. It's by far the best one, and it's not even made by Bethesda. And so they've proven that they can't make Fallout games anymore, and so now the only thing they have left is Elder Scrolls. And you're right, and when you said it perfectly. They won the hearts and minds of people like me when we were younger. But there's a limited amount of hours in the day, and there's an extremely limited amount of money that I can spend on games, and I expect to be overwhelmed by the quality of an Elder Scrolls game. Anything less than overwhelming quality is a failure.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to think like this company that we've been following for such a long time is like not knowing where their bread is buttered, and
100%.
and it's like it's kind of scary to see. And like if you have like a business savvy mind, you're like, oh, it was a up and coming company, now it's looking at what other companies did successful. But like people always say, stay in your own path, like take the path that's not taken type thing. That like indie games are doing, and they're pretty successful now.
They're crushing it. You know, I think in the last 5 or so years, the AAA studios have lost almost every advantage they have. And now the only advantage they have left is a large team of experts. So that means that they're able to produce very beautiful looking games because they can, and then a high budget because part of that team of experts includes, you know, world-class graphic designers and such. And so they're able to afford really high quality physics engines, and they're able to afford really high quality visuals. But everything else, which is the bread and butter of a video game, everything else, the mechanics, the gameplay, the depth, all of that stuff, there's no fundamental difference between what EA can do and what 5 guys in a garage can do with, you know, a certain amount of time. And you're seeing that kind of stuff on Steam all the time. You're seeing games like Factorio, which is now the second highest rated game of all time on Steam, just after Portal 2. And you can put thousands of hours in Factorio and enjoy every minute of it. And it's a team of just a few people.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably stressful for Blizzard and Activision to be like, oh, these indie companies are doing such a great job.
It's hard to have any sympathy for them, though. I mean, the player base is doing everything in our power to tell these companies what we want, and then they don't give us that. So it's really hard to have any sympathy for them.
Yeah, once you say that, I guess like what has, let's say like the project manager for Blizzard or Activision or Blizzard, what have they been doing for the past like 5 to 8 years where they've been seeing such a huge growth, but you're not looking at like, you can't say, oh, let's cross that bridge when we get there, when you have to have a game or some kind of content to really push you through when people are getting tired of what they're playing right now, kind of thing, you know?
100%. I mean, yeah, a 76. You should watch the Angry Joe on it. He's made a handful. You know Angry Joe, of course, right?
I've seen.
You've seen him. You know of him. He does game reviews.
Is it, if I'm not mistaken, the same guy that's like obsessed with the dog and the Fallout games?
I don't think so. No. Anyway, his channel is Angry Joe. So
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I don't even like Fallout. I mean, yeah, it was a cool game. I played a little bit of it, but
here's the scary thing is that Fallout has always just been the sci-fi Elder Scrolls. It really, I mean, they even use the same engine as like Skyrim. It's just the science fiction Elder Scrolls. And so if Fallout 76 reflects on their priorities in gaming and the quality of their production, I'm terrified. I'm terrified for Elder Scrolls 6. Let me put it this way. I stood in line to get the midnight release of Skyrim. I will not pre-order or stand in line for Elder Scrolls 6. I'm going to wait until it's out for a month or 2 or 3, until people have really picked through the game. And then if it ends up being a buggy microtransaction fucking mess full of garbage and just a garbage pile fucking shit fire, then I'm done with Bethesda. Bethesda's a dead company. They have nothing else in their portfolio. They got Elder Scrolls and they got Fallout. And Fallout is gone. It's gone. They fucking kicked Fallout right out of the airlock, and Fallout just fucking depressurized in the vacuum of space, and it's just floating around dead.
Well, then it's great that I stuck with like a dungeon crawler on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 rather than playing Oblivion and Skyrim.
Well, no, but it's not though, because you can. I mean, I'm playing Oblivion right now for my Let's Play, my Wednesday Let's Play series, and it's amazing. It's still one of the greatest games of all time, and it doesn't seem possible that this could be the same company that's released Fallout 76. It doesn't seem possible.
It's an interesting thing that you brought up. Is it like, what do you expect out of video game companies now as a player? Like a video game player, do you look only for indie companies that are just coming out with 1 or 2 games?
Well, unfortunately, those are the only people that you can trust anymore, I feel like.
Or what are they going to end up being, just like another Blizzard and Activision copy?
Well,
and doing the same mistakes.
I like to be optimistic. And so I like to assume that some companies can stay proprietary. They can stay private. Bethesda, for example, I had always been optimistic about Bethesda because they stayed private. And so I was like, I always had the assumption that they didn't have any corporate overlords. And maybe they don't. Maybe they have just utterly lost touch. Now, an indie company can never afford to lose touch for even a single game because they don't have the money, they don't have the reputation, and all that stuff. But at the moment, when I want a good gaming experience, the last thing I do is look at a AAA title, a AAA company. Like I got that free download of Destiny. I would never. I don't care how much you sing the praises of Destiny. I would never buy it.
But why?
Because I no longer have faith in Activision Blizzard. And like I said before, I have an extremely limited amount of time and an even tighter constriction on money. And when a AAA title says, okay, we want $60 for this, I can pop over to Steam right now and I can find 100 games for less than $10 each that I'll have more fun playing, and I'll be able to play for longer than Destiny. And so these AAA titles really need to reconsider how they're doing business. And that brings me back to Elder Scrolls. I played Oblivion for thousands of hours. I played Skyrim for hundreds and hundreds of hours. I need to be able to sit down in front of Elder Scrolls 6, the one that's coming out in the future, and I need to be able to pour hundreds or thousands of hours into it if they're going to charge me $60 for it.
Well,
and thousands of hours of compelling, fun, pure fun, not thousands of hours of grinding nonsense.
So given what we talk about, like indie games, they primarily try to find like the new, what's cool kind of concepts and like technology to make their game interesting. So, and Blizzard is trying to try to be a powerhouse and just staying to what has been good. So you're saying indie companies are going to be like more sought out? Is that correct?
I think more and more money is going to go their direction, which means it's not going the direction of the AAA companies. And I think the AAA companies are It's like
So good things never last. Blizzard and
it's
Activision are gone forever.
it's like they're tending their fire and they're trying to keep their hands warm rather than going and seeking new wood.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see that. I definitely see that. And
Like
it's scary to see that.
especially Blizzard, they have probably the biggest advantage of any AAA company because no matter how bad BFA is, there will always be a percentage of people playing WoW and paying monthly for it. So they will always have that income. I think that they need to start spending their money much, much more intelligently. And like I said, they need to transition over to a dividend, being a dividend company. They need to start paying a serious dividend, 2.5% or 3%, and they need to separate a certain amount of money to pay the dividend, separate another amount of money to keep their current titles going, and then the rest of their money they need to explore new options, like they did with Overwatch. I mean, they came out with Overwatch. That was their first new IP in like 10 years. That was a huge success. They need more of that. They need a new IP every 5 to 10 years.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think we can stop right there.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect place to stop. Another great podcast, Arman. Always great talking to you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely. There's all that stuff down below, that normal YouTube stuff. Do it if you want to, or don't. There's no big deal. Whatever. Catch you in the next video. Thank you everyone for listening.
See ya.
Bye-bye.